Hey, gardening friends. I am officially a few weeks out from my last frost date. So today I want to share an update on how things are growing indoors on the grow shelves, as well as outdoors in my mini pop-up greenhouse. So come along and let's see how things are growing. All right, so let's start with this shelf here, and then we'll work our way to the second row shelf that I have. Now, if this is your first time here, I am growing 80 plus different plant varieties from seed for spring and summer planting. And so everything that I grow from seed, it all starts here on my two grow shelves, which currently consist of a utility shelf and a mini pop-up greenhouse that I have converted into grow shelves. This one has 4 tiers or 4 shelves, and I'm currently using 3 shelves for growing things and then the bottom shelf for storage. Same thing with the mini pop-up greenhouse over here. I'm currently using 3 shelves for growing and then the bottom shelf for storage. I also have 2 storage totes here in front of this particular grow shelf that I use to keep all of my taller plants like my tomatoes on, and I'll show you that here shortly as well. But first, let's start with this particular shelf. And I may pull some of these things out so that you can get a little bit closer look, because I know it's hard to see what's here with the grow lights. But on this grow shelf here at the top, I have a few things that I started from seed recently that I'm still waiting to sprout or germinate. And that is some zucchini, cucumbers, and marigolds. And then on this second shelf here, I currently have a tray that is mostly coleus, as well as a couple of herbs here in the front that I will show you and give you a closer look at. Here next to that, I have some peppers. This is a mix of sweet peppers and a few spicy peppers. And these, I would say, are probably my smaller pepper plants, which is why I have them on this top shelf here. On this bottom shelf, I have more pepper plants. I have a mix of sweet, mild peppers as well as spicy peppers like jalapenos. I have fish pepper. I have cayenne pepper plants, and I will bring you in a little bit closer so you can see those as well. And then on the second shelf over here, I have here at the very top a few things that I started recently, which consists of some sunflowers and nasturtiums. And then here on the second shelf, as well as the bottom shelf here, I basically have mostly all of my younger seedlings or things that have sprouted here recently. So my strategy has been that I start everything here on these top 2 shelves. This one has a heat mat, so anything that requires heat, I started here. Anything that doesn't require heat, it goes over here under this dome. And then once things germinate and sprout, then I move them to this shelving unit over here. And this is kind of where they live until they get big enough to where I can start to pot them up. And then I start to move them down to this lower shelf here or over to this space here where I keep my more mature plants and seedlings. So that has been my strategy up until this point. But so over here, you're going to see that I have a lot of smaller or younger plants or seedlings or things that have just sprouted recently, on both on this shelf as well as on this middle or lower shelf here. So now let me bring you in a little bit closer and give you a look at what I have growing on these 2 shelves here, these 2 shelves over here, as well as in the storage totes that I mentioned that I have here in front of this particular grow shelf. All right, so first up is this tray of coleus that I took from that area there. And this is mostly coleus, with exception to here in the front. I have a couple of random things, like this is some rosemary here. I have some lavender here as well. I have a teeny tiny California Wonder pepper plant. And then right here, I have a petunia. But the rest of this is pretty much all colas that I really do need to get outdoors into the pop-up greenhouse. It's just that the weather has not been ideal. The temperatures have been fluctuating quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, from hot to cold. And we've had a couple of nights with freezing temps, so have not wanted to risk losing anything, hence why they're still indoors. But guys, these things are pretty much ready to go out into the greenhouse. Let me just show you how one. This is one. Look at that. Crazy. So yeah, these are they definitely need to go outside into the pop-up greenhouse so they can start hardening off so that I can get them planted out sometime next month. But they're looking amazing. Look at that. Beautiful variation of colors. So yeah, that's the tray of colas. Now let me show you the pepper plants. All right, so this is the tray of smaller or younger pepper plants that came from that area there on the shelf. And it's a mix of sweet, mild, and hot peppers. So here in the front, I've got a Goliath sweet orange. Here's a golden Greek pepperoncini. I've got a California Wonder here. Here's an Ozark Giant. I've got a few more Ozark Giants back here. This one and that one. And then here I've got a Cayenne Long. And this is two Cayenne Long pepper plants in this pot. And then this is an Anaheim chili pepper plant. And then here's another tray of peppers that came from that area there on my grow shelf. And this is, let's see, I think these are mostly spicy peppers. Yeah, so this is a fish pepper here in the front, and then I've got a bunch of jalapenos. So all the jalapenos are either a early jalapeno variety or a potapeño variety. Let's see, this one, yeah, this is a potapeño here. They're all looking amazing. Nice, lush, and green. So this is what the jalapenos are looking like. I may have a cayenne long pepper somewhere in here too, but for the most part, these are all jalapenos. That is what those are looking like. All right, and then we have another tray of peppers, and these came from that area there on the grow shelf. And this is a mix of sweet and mild peppers. There might be a cayenne pepper and Anaheim chili pepper here and there as well. So let me show you what I have. This is Goliath sweet orange. I've got a golden Greek pepperoncini here, as well as here and here. And then here way in the back is a golden Marconi pepper. And then here in the middle, I've got a cayenne pepper, Anaheim chili, Cali Wonder, Ozark Giant, Goliath sweet orange pepper here. On this side, cayenne long pepper, as well as another Cali Wonder pepper here, sheep nose pimento pepper, and another cayenne long pepper plant here. Now this year I decided that I'm not going to be topping any of my peppers So I'm just going to naturally let them do what they do. The only thing that I've been doing is to come through and pinch off any blooms or flowers that are starting to form, like this one. I need to probably come through and do a few of them because this one has quite a few at the top as well. So that's really the only thing that I've been doing to the peppers, is just pinching off any buds or flowers, but I'm not pinching or topping them for the purpose of promoting branching. I'm going to let them naturally do what they do. And that is because I want to see if that makes a bit of difference in the production, as well as if I'm able to get peppers a little bit earlier in the season if I refrain from topping them. So that is what I am doing. That's the plan. That's the strategy for the peppers. So this is the last tray of peppers. So I've got 3 trays of peppers in total. So now I'm going to put these back on the shelf, and then I'll show you what the tomato plants are looking like. All right, and then on this storage tote, I have a tray of tomato plants, and these are all paste tomato plants, specifically varieties called Granadero and Posano. And for example, this is a Posano paste tomato plant here. This is a Granadero. The Granaderos appear to be a lot smaller, or they're starting off a lot smaller or shorter than the Posano plants. Like if you look back here, here's another Posano. This is a Posano. These both here are Posanos as well. But I'm sure the Granaderos will catch up. They're both supposed to produce paste tomatoes that will be approximately the same size, around 4 to 6 ounces. And then I have another tray of tomatoes over here on another storage tote. And these are a mix of paste tomatoes, as well as I have a couple of cherry tomatoes and a few slicer tomatoes as well. So here is my cherry tomato, and this is called a sun gold. Here's another sun gold here. And then I have some other varieties of paste tomatoes in here. This is a Juliet. I have a Verona here. And then I also have a couple slicer tomatoes, which I am growing for my mother-in-law. The 2 varieties of sliced tomatoes are called home slice and beefsteak. So here is one of the home slice. Here's another home slice. And then I have a beefsteak here, as well as here is another beefsteak. And then here's another home slice right here. So they are growing along really well, doing amazing. And it's going to be a while before I get my tomatoes outdoors. I don't typically start to plant them out until around mid-May. So it'll probably be another week or so before I get them outdoors into my pop-up greenhouse for hardening off. And I'm currently using these adjustable LED grow lights to give them plenty of light. And I've been using these for years, and they do a very good job. So these are, I would say, a good alternative if you don't have, like shop lights like these in your growing space. You can always, get something like this. And they do a pretty good job in giving the plants sufficient lighting. And then over here on this shelf, I have a lot of different things. It's a mix of flowers, mostly summer flowers, as well as some herbs, veggies. It's a mix of everything. So let's start on this shelf here. Some are things that have sprouted recently. Some are things that have been growing here for several weeks and are about ready to get potted up. So here on this side, This is a cucumber that just sprouted recently. There's one, and then there's a second one that's about to come up. I have some oregano that I'm going to be potting up soon, some basil that I started a few weeks ago. And then there in the back, I have lemongrass, some scallions, and some more colas. And then here on this middle tray, I have some calendula, two different varieties that are going to be getting potted up soon. I have some gomphrena, and then a couple different varieties of zinnias, as well as some more stock. That's my second round of stock that I started way there in the back. And then here on this side, I have some dill. This is tetra dill. I also started a variety called bouquet dill, and I only got one seed to germinate, which is fine because I have grown this particular variety the last couple of years, and I usually get a lot of volunteers that pop up every summer. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to get some of that again this year. And then I've got some Swiss chard, a Brussels sprout plant that is withering away on me. I don't think that one's going to make it. And then I've got some cauliflower there. And then I've got a tray of alyssum here that dried out on me while I was out of town. I have since gotten some of it to perk back up. Hopefully I can get some more of it to perk back up. I've just been letting it sit in some water so that it can kind of get fully hydrated. So hopefully I can get some of these other ones to perk back up here soon as well. And then down here on this third shelf, I've got more things that I've started recently, as well as some older plants or seedlings. So here in the back, I've got some status. I've got a couple trays of status there. Those I actually probably should have potted up. I have more status out in my pop-up greenhouse, and those are the ones that I did pot up. These I don't think I'm going to pot up, even though I probably should. I think I'm just going to plant these out directly in the garden without potting up, given that I'm already a couple weeks out from my last frost date. And then here I've got a mix of different things. I've got some lavender here. This is lavender. And then here in the front are all things that I started recently. So I've got a couple nursery pots full of zinnias. I've got some amaranth here, some cosmos, marigolds, and then some flowers here. Then here in the middle, I've got a few things that have sprouted recently. Brussels sprouts, some lettuce, black-eyed Susan, some more flash collards. And then here I've got a mix of flowers, some herbs, all things that need to be potted up. This is my first tray of stock. Never got around to potting this one up quite yet. I've got some celosia here, just looking amazing. I've got some ageratum here, which is looking lovely. Growing this for the first time this year. And then here I've got a tray of peppermint. This is peppermint on this side. And then on this side, I've got a Dusty Miller here, as well as back here. And then I've got two Dichondra Silver Falls in there as well. And then there in the back, I've got some feverfew, some marigolds, and one lonely calendula. So that's what's growing indoors on my grow shelves. Now let me take you outside and show you what's growing in my mini pop-up greenhouse. All right, so let me show you what is currently growing in my pop-up greenhouse that's situated here on my back porch. And when I'm not doing work in here, I usually put the insect netting down. So we're going to start from this side, and then we'll work our way over to that side. And this tray here is looking kind of dry, actually. I just added water to it. But here, way in the back, are some King Henry violas. See if I can zoom in a little bit. There we go. King Henry violas way there in the back. A little floppy now because they are dry. They should perk up here soon. And then toward the front here, some lobelia. Lots of it actually. And then here in the front, I've got one verbena sweetheart kisses. Pretty tall. And then here next to the violas and lobelias is my nice lush tray of petunias. And they are still looking amazing. It's looking like we're gonna have some flowers here very soon. I've got 3 different varieties. There's a yellow one that's coming in. So I've got 3 different varieties. I've got a yellow petunia variety, and then a variety called plum pudding mix and carmine velour. I think the plum pudding mix is like a mix of like a light pink and dark pink. And then the carmine velour is a very deep reddish, pinkish, purplish color. But those are looking amazing. And then here in the front, I've got my tray of sweet peas that I'm going to be planting out here soon. Now, a quick note about these sweet peas. So I had intended to pinch them to encourage branching, but then I noticed that they had started branching on their own. So for example, you see this is one sweet pea plant that has 3 branches. So because I started to see that happening, I don't think I'm going to be pinching these. I'm going to leave them as is and see what happens. But yeah, those are looking awesome. And then over here is my second round of onions that I started. Not yet sure where I'm going to be planting all of these out yet. Probably going to be giving some of these away. But these are my Walla Walla yellow onions. And then I have a Sierra Blanca white onion in here as well. So those are looking great. And then let's move to the other side. All right, so here on this side, this is the right-hand side of the greenhouse. That's the side I just finished showing you. So here on this side, I have a mix of a lot of different things. Let's start over here, back here in the back. These are all of my geraniums that I started indoors. And let me see if I can show you up close. I have 2 different varieties of geraniums. This is the lavender variety, looking amazing. And then I also have a variety that's called pink rose. And let's see if I can grab one of those. So this is the pink rose variety. Beautiful. Look at those leaves. And those are going to be flowering soon. As you can see, I've got flowers on this one, and then there's one in the back that's starting to flower. And then here in the front, and so this is basically 2 trays of geraniums. So this is one tray, and then this is another 10 by 20 tray over here. So I have lots and lots of geraniums that I'm going to be planting out, mostly in containers. And then up here in the front, I have some verbena here. And this variety is called Verbena Sweetheart Kisses. This one is starting to flower. That's beautiful. See if I can pull that one. Nope, that's not the right one. There we go. So that's what that is looking like. Those are about ready to be planted out. A lot of these plants, especially the flowers, a lot of these flowers are ready to be planted out. It's just that the weather has not been cooperative. So I have intentionally held off on planting anything out in my containers until we can get some consistent non-freezing type of weather. But yeah, that's all the verbena. And then up here in the very front, I've got mostly broccoli. These are two different varieties of broccoli. Some of these are my gypsy broccoli. I think this is gypsy. Yeah, this is the gypsy broccoli. And then I also have another variety I'm growing called Green Magic. See if I can find one of those. This is gypsy, a lot of gypsy. Here's a Green Magic here. So that's green, another Green Magic. And I need to get these planted out. Like these should have been planted out probably about a week ago. It's just the weather hasn't been great. And then on this side, way in the back there, I have some status here on this side. These are the ones that I potted up a few weeks ago. And then over here, I've got some collard greens, two different varieties, a flash collard and then a Georgia Southern collard. Then here I've got some lettuce. Here I've got some snapdragons that I moved out recently. So these are all my snapdragons. See if I can show you one. This is one. Look at that. Looking awesome. Then I've got some pak choi here that I'm going to be planting out here in a couple days. One dichondra silver falls plant. More snapdragons. And then over here I've got more verbena sweetheart kisses. And some cilantro. So that's everything that's currently growing in my mini pop-up greenhouse. All right, friends, that is a wrap for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the update on everything that's growing indoors on my grow shelves as well as outside in my mini pop-up greenhouse. Now, in case you missed it, I will also add a link up in the cards to the video where I show me putting that greenhouse together. It also has a ton of info about product dimensions and manufacturer, how long I've had it, my overall thoughts on it, so on and so forth. So be sure to check that out if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support. I hope to see you all back here soon. Until next time, friends, take care.